Hello and welcome back to the Hyperspace Podcast. My name is Sam, and as always, I'm joined by my lovely co-host, it's Mr. Michael Gosh. Michael, how are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Glad to be here again.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure having you here. And yeah, this week we're going to be doing Bad Batch episode 5 called Rampage. We'll be going through it, spotting Easter eggs and just analysing the episode really. So let's get started. The episode started, they're in space and they're traveling to a planet Ord Mental, where Echo has a friend or has heard of one of the Jedi's friends, Sid. And straight away, I'm going to ask you, Michael. Sid is a very interesting character in this episode, and I'm very happy she was introduced. I hope she's used more. But when they were like that she was friends to a Jedi, what Jedi would you think that she would have been friends with? Because she seems quite mischievous. I can't see her being there with like Yoda or like Mace Windu.
Um, oh god, I can't remember his name. You know the Jedi from the episode with Ahsoka where she loses her lightsabers? I can't for the life of me remember his name. Uh,
Uh, I can't remember. Right, look it up.
yeah, I can't remember his name at all. But him, uh,
But him, nice description of him.
oh, Terra Sinube, definitely Sinube, because he's like friend. He's like he completely understands the criminal underworld. I'd see maybe not him going in person, but I reckon maybe he knows everything about at least Coruscant underworld. But Kenobi had loads of contacts. He was contacts with like Hondo kind of,
Yeah, no,
and a few others. So like either Kenobi or an Anakin, I guess. Probably not saying it is Anakin, but like one of those Jedi's who are like a bit more willing to go against the Jedi, or a bit more, familiar with the underworld, I guess. But yeah, did you have any ideas of which Jedi?
yeah. I was going through because of Sid's character. She's kind of mischievous. She has contacts which are would be seen as a bit dodgy. Maybe I was thinking maybe like a Dooku when he was a Jedi. I think that could make sense.
The only reason actually the Dooku is a really good point because it would make sense if he was, but I think it must have been a different Jedi just because of Echo knowing about it and saying
Hmm.
it was a Jedi, and I imagine that means that it must have been a Jedi he knew but didn't serve with.
Yeah, I
If that
think.
makes sense, it couldn't have been. I don't think it would have been Anakin or Obi-Wan, right? But I imagine it would have been someone he knew. Um, I know. I guess the other thing is, I guess it could be an Ahsoka as well because she had underworld contact. She probably had somewhat underworld contacts as all of them did. But I know Count Dooku is not a bad one because he has a lot of underworld contacts. Yeah, that's an interesting. I don't know if that's the Jedi he was it Echo meant specifically though, just because of what he said. But could have well been Dooku.
Yeah, no, that's what I was thinking anyway, because of I was thinking him or maybe Sci-Fi DS, someone who's like,
Oh, Sci-Fi DS is not a bad
yeah,
one either.
I was thinking someone
Um,
who would be like turning against
what,
the
what about
turning the Jedi in the end or something
yeah,
like that.
what about Quinn and Voss? Wouldn't be a bad one. Would probably be another one. It could be because I feel like he's also. I know he's also in that maybe a bit more similar to a Sci-Fi DS or a Count Dooku where they didn't agree with the code.
Yeah,
Or if
that's
they don't agree with the way the Jedi interpret code.
that's another good shout. I'm not sure if that will be ever be revealed who the Jedi was. I think it's more like here's something for the fans to speculate over, and it's great
Mm.
for us because we can have a discussion over who we think it was.
I think the Bad Batch so far has been really good at. I think all of this. I think also the Mandalorian was good at it as well. It's like putting in these things for us to think about, like the. I think we talked about it. The Jedi in the first episode, when that's dead and has been covered up, and we see the lightsaber drop, so we know it's a Jedi. we were speculating about who it is, and I think we couldn't figure out who it was based on the lightsaber. But they do a lot of things where it doesn't necessarily matter, but we're all really curious to know what it is. Like, it doesn't actually matter which Jedi it was that was killed. The point is that they have to see the body, right? Or in this case, it's because Echo knows Sid can be trusted, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's completely right. Moving on to like Sid's office. I mean, that is an Easter egg minefield. I mean, she is surrounded by Clone Wars helmets, from the pilot helmets to the different kind of troops helmets. I mean, it's crazy. She's got a great collection in there. She's got a Mandalorian helmet. Some people are speculating that was maybe a Boba Fett prototype, and that she even has the Jango Fett blasters above her head. I mean, that was a very sick scene, just looking around the room and just looking at all these Easter eggs.
I think also a lot of them are things maybe we couldn't see very well. So we're also, again, another thing where they've given us these Easter eggs, but we don't know what there are. Like there was like the tusk on her desk, or as a tooth. We don't know what it is, but again, you know, there's lots of things it could be. It could be from a sarlacc, which I think would be a really interesting Easter egg. It could be from like a number of things, but yeah, that office was like really interesting to see. Like you said, there was lots of little Easter eggy things, and you could see like Amiga just looking around, you know, Omega Amiga
Yeah.
looking around, and there was an axe or something as well, which could have been a number of probably could be a number of things from, and there was also the like fur on the chair, which could be from a bantha. Like you said, there's just lots of little Easter eggy things, and there's also a collection of art. There was a collection of art in the background, which
Yeah.
is very like it kind of reminded me of Admiral Thrawn's office a little bit. Now you've like said about it, because he had like all these little trinkety things that were in his office, and that was like a lot of Easter eggy things if you looked around.
Yeah, no, you're completely right. I mean, that office was really cool, and she was talking to the Bad Batch, and she is like such a savage. Like, one of the lines she said to Tech, so Tech's just talking, and then she just replies with, "That's cute thinking I care." Like, that is like,
Yeah, I remember she said to like the thing I noticed was with like if we go back a little bit when they were trying to figure out who Sid was in the bar, like Amiga like noticed immediately it was her, and that's either means that meant two things to me: either the Bad Batch are that gullible, or she's that perceptive. Because I think we all knew it was Sid, right?
yeah.
But like I don't know if, because obviously they didn't know it. I wonder if that means Amiga's more perceptive with things, and that's what her talent is.
Well,
Maybe.
I've seen a lot of people saying this further proves the point that she's
Oh,
force sensitive.
uh, I think like if they were gonna, I don't. For one thing, I think maybe it makes sense they were trying it for sensitive clones. If we're gonna go that route, but I think it would be way more obvious at this point. It wouldn't be all these subtle hints. There would be something a little bigger. I
Yeah,
think. I think also. I think if she was force sensitive, someone would know.
you should
And
do.
not the clones, but like someone else. And if she was force sensitive, are they going to include like an Ahsoka or something? It's something I don't really expect them to do. Is make
Yeah,
her force sensitive.
they can't make everyone force sensitive. I mean, not everyone
I've
is.
seen all the memes. I've seen all the memes about a father figure and a force sensitive kids, and you know, it's just I wonder if it's something nice for the fans to speculate around, right? And I think it's interesting to think whether she is or not. But I don't. First thing, I don't think it matters too much. I don't think it, at least for the first season, I don't think it's going to, at least for the first like half of the season, because it's a long season, it's going to matter. Like I don't think it's going to matter in the next, you know, five episodes or something that she's force sensitive or not. If she was, which I don't think she is. I think like there's at least heightened perception and heightened awareness, but they said that's normal for they said that's really normal for enhanced clones. That's what Tech said, which is why he was like so confused that they didn't figure out she was a clone because like one of these enhanced clones like them. So I don't know. What do you feel about the force sensitivity thing?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting point, and she very well maybe, but I think that they can't just every new character they introduce. There will be speculation over it, but I don't think that they can't just make every new character force sensitive and have like force sensitivity. And people were saying this furthers the point that she's force sensitive by her realizing who Sid is. I mean, they walked into that bar and straight away I could have told you who Sid is.
Yeah,
It was
I'm
very
not force sensitive.
yeah, exactly. I'm not force sensitive, and I knew who Sid
I,
was.
I think it makes sense I think if they were going to make a force sensitive, it makes sense if it was, like they may be trying to tie it in with the sequel era and the idea of being able to make force sensitive clones. It makes sense if she's like really like slightly force sensitive, if she's like just heightened awareness to the force, sort of like oh my god, Chitaway from Rogue One, because I'd kind of call him force sensitive, but
I'd
you
say
wouldn't
he's
not
100%
you'd
force
yeah,
sensitive.
you'd say he's force sensitive, but not like Jedi force sensitive. I think
Yeah,
there's a difference. He's aware of the living force around him, not. I think maybe that's not that level of force sensitivity, but I imagine it's likely more in that direction where she may be aware of things going around in the living force. So probably more like like Qui-Gon's idea of being aware of them, being in the moment and stuff, and feeling the living force at that moment. So maybe that's the case, but they're not just going to make a Jedi. I think is more important. The point, because if they do, then it's just kind of a bit weird. Like it'd make more sense if they were like, oh, we need to, like, when they go back and try and get Crosshair, if they have to end up going back into Kamino, if they end up going to Kamino, they go and get her like gear or something to like make her fit better into the Bad Batch or something. Later we're talking like when she gets older, if that was something they want to do, or they try and make armor for her, not turn her into a Jedi. And I don't think there's anyone who would be able to teach her
no,
like at the time, because there's no one, is there? All of the people available are like basically just Padawans, and like young Padawans as well.
yeah,
Um,
100%. Other than Ahsoka, like there's
and
no.
Ahsoka wouldn't have met her until at least after Rebels, because otherwise I think she would have said something to Kanan and Ezra. It would make sense if it was concurrent, maybe, but that means that this show is like at least 6 seasons behind being there, right, or something. If they were going that direction, it's not the way to go, because I don't think Ahsoka. Based on the book, she's not that. She's not going to be involved in this because she knows that. At common sense, the Jedi are being hunted. You probably don't want to make everyone aware that you're a Jedi, especially by having a force sensitive kid who probably can't control the force
Yeah, no,
well.
I agree.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll see what happens with the force sensitivity thing, but I don't know. I've only thought about it because of fan speculation rather than
Mm.
thinking that. I always just assumed it was maybe that's what her enhanced ability is. There's like a certain level of perception stuff like Hunter has, although his is not social perception, clearly.
Yeah, I agree. So back to the episode. After analyzing all of Sid's office, Sid
Yeah.
sends them on a mission or to do basically a bounty. It wouldn't be a bounty because they're not killing anyone. Sends them on a mission to go and rescue Moochie, who all they're told is that she's a child, and they go to rescue her from Zygerian slavers. And it's really interesting because I hadn't watched the trailer for this episode. And a few days ago, I was bored and I just was like, I want to watch some Clone Wars. And I watched the Zygerian slave arc. And it was just really weird just watching this episode to be like, wait, what? I was just like, oh my gosh, they're here again. I was literally watching this the other day. And that was a really weird moment for me. And it made me realize there's a point, not really with this Bad Batch episode, so we'll probably go on tangent again, but the wolf packing Plo Koon. I was having a conversation with people about it the other day. They were just so underused. They were so sick, wolf packing Plo Koon. They were such a sick Legion and general.
Yeah, it was weird, especially as they're Dave Filoni's favorite, that they weren't used in season 7,
Hmm.
like at all. I thought he would just put like a, like he could have put them on an axis if he wanted to. Like
Yeah,
that would have that would have made a lot of sense if it was two legions there. I'm surprised they didn't do that. But there you go. I guess the reason they might have not done it is because I guess canonically they're supposed to be in the right place to kill Plo Koon.
yeah.
So what can you do? Although it's not, we don't know where Wolf. We don't know what the deal is with Wolf, but
I think we'll find out. I think we'll
I
find
think they're going to
out.
actually tell us now, aren't they?
They have to.
Eventually, we might have to wait another 10 years, but they.
Yeah, we might end up like in Bad Batch finding Rex and he's with Wolf and Gregor, and we'll find out how what happened because
We're
there's
just going to see
got
them on
to
that
be-
ATT fishing for work, big worm things,
exactly
the big bongo.
there's got to be a piece of like Star Wars action and like in the either the TV shows or in like a movie. Unlikely in a movie, it'll be in a TV show where we do find out how they got their chips removed. It's got to happen.
Oh yeah, because we now know about Rex, which I think we all thought, at least before, I think we all thought he got it removed before Order 66, and that was the general consensus was. I think the general consensus of the fans was he got told by fives, right, and then he goes and checks it out, like later on after the end of season 5 or 6. I can't remember if he's in season 6 actually. Season 6 is really short from what I remember. It's like 12 episodes, isn't it? But either way, I think I assumed that he got it removed afterwards. And I think we all assumed he got it removed before the 60 since he said, "I didn't betray my Jedi," which is it is true, but
Mm,
it's like a very Obi-Wan from a certain point of view. Like he technically tried to kill Ahsoka as much as he was desperately trying not to. That scene is so good as well, by the way. It's a complete tangent, but it's such a good scene.
yeah, no, I agree. That is a sick scene. But yeah, back to the episode. We get some more Wrecker foreshadowing.
Yes. Yeah, he complains about his head hurting, doesn't he? And I think we were talking about it last episode, and I was a bit skeptical. I was a little bit skeptical. It could have just been that he hit his head, but I think now we know 100% it's foreshadowing Order 66, right?
Yeah,
And
I've been calling
your
it
your
all along,
prediction.
and I'm proud to say that.
I think I was a little bit skeptical because I was wondering how they would do it, but it happened to Tuck before he killed can't remember what her name was, but before he went and executed Order 6 prematurely, he complained about his head hurting, right? And like he just like said it was fine, but yeah, it's likely going to happen, and I don't know how that's going to affect him. I imagine it's the same way as it affected Crosshair, where he's going to like try and dob them in, like he'll like maybe the thing is that he's not very smart, so I don't know how he'll do it either. It's not like Tech is like probably the Tech or Echo or even Hunter would be able to like just snitch the like Empire, but I don't know what Wrecker will probably just try and fight them.
Yeah, I don't think he'll fully turn. I think they'll find out something's happening and sort it out before he turns.
I think there'll be some behavioral thing will change though. I don't
Yeah,
think it'll go all the way necessarily because they've already got Crosshair who's done that, so it's a bit we've done that, and they have to sort out Crosshair as well. So it's like you said, they're really setting up this redemption arc for Crosshair. We didn't mention it, but like they all like Tech is even a little bit sad when he gives Omega the comms that's
yeah,
from Crosshair, and when we were talking before this, you said that Crosshair wasn't used in this episode, but he was still like mentioned, and he's still like it's still very much in their minds that Crosshair isn't there.
yeah. No, they definitely miss him. Um, n- we get a cool callback. We were talking earlier about Easter eggs. We had the return of Bib Fortuna. I mean,
Oh
who
yeah,
saw
yeah,
that coming?
yeah. I think we all noticed when it was we all saw it when it was that you
Hmm.
saw like the half face, the hologram. We were like, oh, that must be, especially as like it's the criminal underworld and stuff. And yeah, Yeah, he's a weird character to come back. It was like when he came back in The Mandalorian for that post-credit scene where he gets shot.
Yeah.
You know, like it's nice seeing them use these characters
Yeah.
who you don't need to know who they are if you're you're new into Star Wars or whatever. Although I wouldn't recommend the Bad Batch being the place you start watching Star Wars at all. It's the worst place to start. Mandalorian is much, but anyway, to start. But yeah, it's nice when they use these characters. You don't necessarily need to know who they are, but it's nice for the fans. Like when they we're picking apart these episodes. They leave all these little Easter eggs that you don't have to care about, and they're not important to anything. Like you said about like reusing the Zygarians as well, which is like a small thing, but like you said, it did remind me of that episode with Anakin flirting with the Zygarian queen, which was hilarious. But yeah, that was a good arc, by the way, as well. You mentioned it. That was a really good arc, and we'll probably get onto it a little bit more when we get further into the slavery stuff. But they're really fleshing out the universe after the Clone Wars now, and it's feeling a bit more like we know what's going on. And like you said, seeing that office and seeing Sid and talking to Sid and like hearing that she's been affected by the fall of the rise of the Empire has been really interesting.
Yeah, no, completely. As you said, we have more on this planet with the Zygarian slavers, and they capture the Bad Batch, bar Omega, who's on the ship and manages to get away, and she has to come and rescue them, while Echo's really baitly, like shouting, this would be a different story without our armor.
Yeah, okay, yeah. It's he Omega. We saw Omega. We were talking about Omega getting armor. I was wondering because you see her like playing with the clone trooper toy, and she like customizes it to make it like Bad Batch. And I wonder if that's like something that will happen like at some point, because they've already customized, like given her like the comms, whether that will happen at some point. But that's a bit of a tangent. But yeah, he was so obvious about it. He's like, it was so obvious, and they don't like think anything of it. I know, like you probably wouldn't, but yeah, that was, I don't know, it was good, and it was good seeing seeing the Zygarians the way we saw them in the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
And what was it? Echo said the Republic outlawed slavery, which is a callback to a few things. To call back to that episode, you were talking the episodes with the Zygarians. It's also a callback to what Padme said in episode 1 to Anakin.
Yeah.
I only just thought about that. There's a complete callback to that as well, because that's what she said. She says, I think she roughly says the Republic outlawed slavery, and then Shimi says we're not in the Republic, and that's sort of the response Echo gets, which is we're no longer in the Republic, and he talks about how the Zygarians want to be slavers, and like basically because they want to get their position in the galaxy back. We saw in that again a lot of tiebacks to that episode you're talking about. So because they say that they hate the Republic for that reason, which is why they go to the CIS, because they were willing. Well, they kind of side with the CIS, not directly. It's a bit more they're selling slaves to the CIS from what I remember of that episode, right?
Yeah. I think
But the Zygarians want to like basically get like almost vengeance on the Republic, or like have the last laugh with like getting their like slave empire back, and they realize the Empire will like pay for slaves. Like that's what happens to the Wookiees, isn't it? They like the Empire comes in and like enslaves all of them.
Yeah. No, you're yeah.
Yeah.
It's
I don't know. Yeah.
It's interesting with the slavers and all that, because Omega's just sneaking around, and of course you can never have like someone sneaking around in Star Wars without them either kicking a stone or making some noise that makes everyone turn.
Stepping on a twig.
And yeah, stepping on a twig. I love it. I don't even think that's just limited to Star Wars. Every show.
It's everything. Yeah.
Always that just sets them off. They turn around and then they just turn back around. So, oh, it's nothing.
It's a bit off topic, but when you said that, it just reminded me of when Han Solo steps on that twig, and then the scout trooper turns to him and like punches him.
Yeah,
Like it just reminded me of that, because that moment is like, it's really funny, but like it's definitely a bit of a trope in, you know, a lot of things. You know, if you're sneaking around and you're not like the Bad Batch guys, you know, and even then there's Wrecker, so you never know. But yeah, they did that, and then Wrecker kicked the stone at the Tigerian guys to try and get their attention.
yeah, he just kicked it like trying to signal, oh yeah, that was me, just kicking stones around, and it was a bit like, yeah, sure it was, mate. But Omega then comes down and frees Moochie. They didn't know it was Moochie at the time, but they thought it was the child that was there that they'd enslaved. But no, the Moochie was actually the Rancor, which is sick, because we haven't seen Rancors in ages in Star Wars. Like, have we seen them since Return of the Jedi?
I was wondering if we've seen them in the Clone Wars somewhere. I don't think we did we? Clone Wars is the only place I think would have. Clone Wars or Rebels maybe is the only place I can think of, because they're definitely not showing up in like anything else. I can't, with so many episodes of Clone Wars, I can't remember if they've shown up even just slightly. But no, I think it is the first time since Return of the Jedi. It's at least one of the few times since Return of the Jedi they've shown up. They're really. Oh well, we could talk about KOTOR if you wanted to, though, because I remember you have to like. There's the have you played KOTOR?
No, I haven't.
In KOTOR, there's a mission where you have to like sedate a Rancor to get past it. That's the last time I can think of a Rancor showing up and it not being Return of the Jedi. Which I guess the thing we were thinking, since it's Bib Fortuna, we'll probably talk about later, is it's the Rancor from Return of the Jedi.
I'll raise that question now. I mean, as you said, we think we've only seen one Rancor since Return of the Jedi, and it's this one. And in different Star Wars media, the Rancor that Luke kills has a different name. However, we've seen a lot of times in comics that things have been changed for TV or for movies, because TVs and movies are like the ultimate canon. So is it the same Rancor that Luke kills in Return of the Jedi?
I don't. It's hard to say, because I thought immediately it must be, but now I've like we've done our little bit of digging. It doesn't seem like anyone think. It seems like a lot of people thought it might be, but it's now not. But like you said, there weren't. I was just having a quick look, and the only times they're in something is mentioned only. Is the new High Republic stuff. That's canon, and I think they were in one episode of the Clone Wars where it wasn't just a head or something. But otherwise, we've really not seen much of them at all. Like, I'm sure I think they might have shown up once in Clone Wars and once in Rebels, but I don't remember it very much. So I think it must have been something a really minor thing if they when they did. And you know, I think it's nice that they use it again. They're pulling out these like creatures from other stuff. And you know, it's nice again, like for us fans, like is it that Rancor, you know?
Yeah.
Like you said, the comic stuff gets like retconned. I know the books get retconned a little bit, and they don't get decanonized. It just material in it gets retconned, which is really frustrating to try and keep on top of. But I don't know. What do you think? It's the Rancor from Return of the Jedi?
Yeah, let's go with it. I'm just gonna back it, but I don't know. It's
I'd
really
like
hard
it to be.
I don't want it to be, because we know the fate of that Rancor.
Oh yeah.
And this Rancor is quite cute, to be honest. Let's be real. I mean, other than he pretty much beats everyone up. He has a great scrap with Wrecker.
The fight with Wrecker was hilarious. They were literally like going round for round with each other.
It was, and by the end, they were both just swinging and missing, and it was just, and then they were just, after they got the Rancor's respect, they were like walking next to it, and it was really cute. And that makes me sad that that might grow up to get killed by Luke. And if it did, there was the guy, I forgot his character name, that comes down when Luke kills the Rancor
Oh,
and starts crying. And that would be now I realise why that would be my reaction if it's the same Rancor.
yeah.
That
I think the
Rancor's
thing is,
done all right.
every time before I watch this episode, every time I would sit down and watch Return of the Jedi, which is a lot because I think we went over it in one of our episodes. It's my like favorite Star Wars film, despite the fact it's not the best one. But I'd sit down and I'd laugh every time at him. Like I'd be like, he's gonna come out and cry, because like he really like he doesn't just cry a little bit, like he properly like sobs like on his knees, like. And then the Gamorrean guy, I think it's Gamorrean, comes back at the back and like pulls him away. But yeah, I wonder if it is the same one. Although I think the one in Return of the Jedi isn't very well trained. That's why they keep it in the like tiny cage like that. Whereas I feel like this Rancor, you probably have like, like you wouldn't need it like in a tiny space like that underneath. I don't know. I'd like it to be in some ways like it's nice that they'd reference that, but like you said, we know the face of it, don't we?
Yeah, no,
And it was pretty funny watching Wrecker like just about win against a Rancor.
I wouldn't even say one. I'd call it a draw.
To draw, yeah. I
Because
think the reason I'd call it, yeah, a draw seems fair. It's just
they both
so
fell on top of
funny.
each other, and they were both blowing. They were both like about to throw the towel in. They were so tired, and I just remember Tech must have been there for so long, just watching them scrap, and he's just there, just like waiting for them to finish, and it just took so long.
I guess it's quite good entertainment for him. But
Yeah, that would have been so
knowing
fun.
Tech, he's probably got it recorded somewhere. He's going to put it on the HoloNet,
100%.
on HoloTube.
Yeah, that's so cool.
It's gonna go viral.
Yeah, he's gonna go viral. It wouldn't be bait for the Empire at all. They definitely would just know where they were and just find.
No, not at all.
100% not. Would never happen. And one of the things I want to talk about is it was just a quick thing where it is Omega and I think it's Echo taking the people to safety, and the three people who were slaves. And on their way, Omega picks up one of the Zygerians' bow and arrows. Has she now got a weapon? Because I'm not gonna lie, episode 1, 2, 3, and 4, she's been very unprotected. Like she's had nothing to defend herself with.
I had this in my notes as well, and we kind of skipped over it. I was going to say we should probably talk about it. I think that's also why I was thinking: is she going to become a bit more? I know she is part of the Bad Batch. Like, is she going to be like, I guess, in the squad a bit more? Like, actually be allowed to do stuff a bit more? Because now she's being bounty hunted by Fennec Shand, who we saw what she does in The Mandalorian, and also like single-handedly was able to fight Hunter. I know he was like somewhat unprepared, but like also she just like one-moved Wrecker. So, and like Wrecker, we've just now seen Wrecker like almost beat up a Rancor. It was a close fight, but the fact is it wasn't a close fight with Fennec, which means that she's better at fighting than a Rancor, or like a small Rancor, which is like it just shows you that this is like she should be protected.
She
like
does.
It's not. It doesn't really make sense that they didn't just hand her a blaster, to be honest. I think it's also Hunter being a dad and not wanting her to be a soldier is part of the reason why. And now I guess she's at least got a non-lethal weapon, but then she could have just had the blaster on stun the whole time. But there you go. Like, I don't know. I wonder if that's why it's just Hunter being dad.
Yeah, one of the things I thought of is very Night Sisters, that bow. It's very Night Sisters.
Yeah, I see that. It's their kind of style of weapon, isn't it? Like a sort of like, I guess like not like old, like medieval style weapon, not a very like space like a Star Wars sci-fi weapon, but then a sci-fi version of that. And I guess also it's not a very like typical Star Wars design either.
Yeah, no, I
like it's really unusual design. I know a lot of the Zygerian stuff is sort of very like the whips. I feel like is very Night Sister thing as well. Like I feel that like that's also kind of that like a bit more their style of weaponry and stuff.
Yeah.
Although I imagine that they'd have a bit more black if it was not the Night Sisters, right? Because they wear a lot of black.
They're basically like really gothic.
Yeah, I was gonna say they wear
Style.
a lot of eyeliner, from what I remember. We
Yeah,
saw a
love
Sarge
that.
Ventress doesn't have like eyelashes, but like she looked like she wears mascara, I think, from what I remember.
Yeah. No,
But
it's very, yeah, it's a
their
very
character
gothic.
design is so good. Do you think the Night Sisters will show up in the show then? We'll talk about the Night Sisters.
That is, see, that's one
'Cause-
of the things that I thought might happen because I was like, that bow and arrow is a bit of a callback, and I was like,
hmm,
maybe that they might show up. And to be fair, we've got 9 episodes left, and a lot could happen in those 9 episodes. So I'm not sure. I mean, they could 100% show up, but we'll have to wait and see, really. But yeah, I wouldn't turn down a Night Sisters arc to see if they're still alive, if there are still many
well,
and scattered around the universe.
we have some information from Jedi Fallen Order because we know that the at least the Night Sisters are supposed to have been completely massacred by Grievous, right? Because they say I think Merrin in Jedi Fallen Order mentions someone with the lightsabers of a Jedi, and it says green and blue, and it's meant to be Grievous, right? But she thinks it's a Jedi, and I'm pretty sure she's the only, at least canon, Night Sister still alive. We know Ventress might be, but she's not confirmed as having survived that long. So that's the only appearance that late into Star Wars canon, I think. So I guess I wonder, would they put her in the show? I doubt it. But again, like you said, we've got 9 episodes. They could well be another Night Sister character who has survived. We don't know about yet.
Mm.
Yeah, it'd be interesting because again, we haven't seen that much in canon about in the existing canon of what's happened with the Night Sisters.
Yeah, no,
And
that would be.
there were some of the best Clone Wars episodes as well. Those arcs.
Yeah, I'd happily have them back. I mean, they're interesting, as you said. They have interesting arcs, and I think it would be interesting. But there's a lot of things that could happen, and there's a lot of characters and species of people that it would be cool to come back. Summing up the episode as a whole, it was basically an episode to tell the characters what the people watching already knew, wasn't it? Because it was an episode so that the Bad Batch could get information about who the bounty hunter was. And
Mm.
we didn't really find out much more than that, apart from like the type of contract that it was, which I think hints more towards it being Boba Fett, and that the Kalmanoans hired Boba Fett and Boba Fett's hired Fennec Shand. Because if it was the Kalmanoans, then I don't think that they'd have gone for someone as inexperienced as Fennec, because she did mention she's new on the scene, so it's more likely that they
Maybe.
hired Bubba and then he got Fennec Shand.
I think what we at least know is that we know that it must be there must be like a pretty significant person to be able to circumnavigate having to go through the Bounty Hunter Guild, because we kind of see it in the Mandalorian a bit because they actually go. That's another thing. It's a bit of a callback to Bounty Hunter Guild to the Mandalorian, because I don't think we've seen it in canon before necessarily. I think we've had bounty hunters, but we've not seen the Guild of Bounty Hunters. So something a bit new to see. Maybe I still think it's possible. It's the Empire. The Empire could have done that, and they're another like again the Kaminoans could have got Boba Fett, and Boba Fett would have been able to get around it. But I also think the Empire would also just directly hire her.
Mm.
I know. In Mandalorian they hire around. That's not the Empire. That's one Imperial warlord man. Yeah, I forget what his name is. But one played by Herna Verzog.
Yeah.
Him. But he's like, that's a very different time. We're talking about like almost the height of the Empire. Like they've defeated, like at the moment they do not have any threats except from what Saw Gerrera and like the ones that Crosshair took out. Like that's it. That's the rebellion at the moment. There's like Bail Organa and I guess Mon Mothma in the Senate, but they're not a threat yet. Then none of them are threats.
Yeah.
Just I wonder what they're gonna do with it and who it's gonna be. I think I'm leaning more towards your theory now. Now it's been talks about it, because it makes sense that Kaminoans are more likely to want Omega than the Empire. But I wonder if the Empire is the reason they want it so badly, like if they want her so badly because of the Empire, because they want this contract, right? So it may well be indirectly because of the Empire. And we talked about it being possibly they want the DNA of an early clone, and that we think she's an early clone, although she is altered. So we'll have to see. Again, people are going to say it's the force sensitivity thing, aren't they? And that they want a force sensitive clone back, right?
And that still could happen, but I don't think it's plausible personally, and I don't think it's going to happen.
I think if they were going to do it, there's a right way to do it, which I think is to have only just force sensitive, like aware, like there's some sort of awareness of the force, but not a like super powerful Jedi or something, not a Jedi, but like just I guess, like I said, sure, away from Rogue One, something like that, where there's a certain awareness of the force, not to that extent, but there's a certain awareness of the force around her, which would make sense. But I think you're right, it's not something they should do. But again, if they do it, they may well do it in a way we couldn't expect and actually do it well, because I wasn't sure this show would work for this longer period, to be honest. I thought this would be like Mandalorian 10 episode deal and that was it. The 16 episodes is a lot of episodes for them to do for this. And we know it, and we think it's multi-seasonal. I think it was confirmed it was multi-seasonal.
Yeah,
I at least hope it's multi-seasonal at least.
They could easily make it multi-seasonal. Like it's set up to be multi-seasonal. I think it's 14 episode series, not 16.
Oh, right.
I think it is multi-season. It would make sense for it to have more than one season, because fans are gonna love it because it's Clone Wars and it's Dave Filoni, and B, they've spent so much time setting up these characters, as you mentioned earlier in this pod, that they would have just had like pretty much action throughout with like one or two filler episodes, rather than they're really using this to flesh out characters and stuff. And one thing that we talked about beforehand, and then we kind of disagree on, is you think this episode leans more away from the Mandalorian structure and more
a little bit, yeah.
Wars, but I think this still leans quite heavily towards the Mandalorian, because it has the Bounty Hunters Guild, and then they have them basically. It starts in space. They go to a planet. They do a mission. It kind of goes wrong. They get the mission. They get information and a few credits, and then they fly off into the galaxy again. And that is very much the structure of a stereotypical Mandalorian episode. So why do you think it's going away from that? Because I still think it's very much in that mold.
I think I'd agree with you, it's in that mold, but I think the way in which it does it is different. So I think the way to put it is that the style of doing that is more like the Clone Wars. The way, like, some of the like humor and the gags and the things that are done in the show, and a lot of the callbacks are more obviously more Clone Wars specific, and also I think the way in which the characters are developed by doing that is more like the Clone Wars, and the way the Clone Wars developed it, because the Clone Wars kind of sometimes had a similar formula where the clones would be sent on a mission. They go somewhere, they get sent on a mission, someone would mess up the mission a little bit, and then it'd be fine, right? There's a little bit of not always, but there was some structure like that where there was a mission, and they'd go and do it, and then there'd be issues. I just think the way the characters were developed by doing it, and like the small characterizations that we don't see so much in Mandalorian, because it's only the Mando and Grogu really most of the time, and some supporting characters. Less so in season 2, but at least in season 1. And I think it's leaning, and even then, I think it is very deliberately developing, the Bad Batch as a whole, all of them. And like in this episode, we kind of talked about Echo again, had a few more things, Tech had a few more things, Wrecker had a few more things, Hunter was sidelined a bit more, this episode, to be honest. I know he's the leader and he was asked to talk to find out about Fennec Shand, but he was sidelined at like for development this episode, and I feel Omega was as well in some ways. And it was more about the rest of them having their moments, and us learning a bit more about how they are, because we kind of see a bit more that Echo is this like because he's a reg, he's a bit more like by the book and a bit more standard. Like he tells Omega not to play with the comm, and like there's a few small moments like throughout where he like is a bit stricter than like even Hunter, who's got these rules for her to follow when they're out and about. Like he's a bit more like the one he's a bit more the enforcer, I guess, of it. Whereas I think Hunter's a bit more like sympathetic to it. If that makes sense. I think Echo is a bit more aware that it's a kid, right? Whereas Hunter's like, well, she wants to stay with us. I think that it's a lot of small, really small things, but I just don't think the Mandalorian did it like that. A lot of the Mandalorian, like a lot of the character development was on these big, huge moments for the Mando, like when he takes his helmet off and sees like Grogu sees his face for the first time. It's a lot of these very big moments that have built up, whereas in this, there's lots of little moments we see them developing the relationships and the characters and how each of them are different, despite the fact it's just Bradley D. Baker and clones. I don't know. I think that's why, I mean, it's more like I think it's moving a bit more towards the Clone Wars, and I think it's different enough from the Mando. Although I would agree they are using this very kind of formulaic setup the Mandalorian used. I think the Mandalorian, I just was more annoyed about it because I don't know if it's because it's live action or because it's the 45-50 minutes of the same thing every like episode. I still enjoyed the Mandalorian. I don't know. I think because this show hasn't finished, I'm able to see that it can move away from this as well. And it has this Clone Wars charm. And I don't just mean from the animation, I mean from the writing and a lot of the characterization. I don't know. You're definitely right though. They are really using this Mandalorian mold. And I wonder if that's because it's similar plots. Like Guy on run from the Empire.
Yeah.
Or in this case, Guy's on the run from Empire, looking after Kid, who's being hunted by the Empire. Well, or by someone else, it's either way, they're being hunted by someone who's like professionally trained to hunt them. So I don't know.
I think it's maybe they've seen it. They've looked at the Mandalorian and it's like, oh my gosh, we've finally got a piece of media in recent times that Star Wars fans have actually liked. So let's kind of copy that for Clone Wars. But I agree with your points that it's definitely got a lot of time to move away from it. And it's not as if the structure was bad. But yeah, I think that wraps up our episode today, talking about Bad Batch episode 5, Rampage. Thank you for watching. Remember to like, subscribe, turn those post notifications on. Thanks for joining me, Michael.
Oh, thank you for having me again.
No worries. And yeah, thank you for watching. And as always, may the Force be with you.